Hello and welcome to the Voiro podcast, season 4, episode 7. And that means this is episode 45, which means around the corner
is episode 50.
Episode 50. With me as always, founder and CEO, Kavita Shenoy.
Hello. Good morning.
Morgan.
We're all coming off of a quick midweek break
I love midweek breaks.
on Thursday,
Yeah. It's like a little gift.
I tell you. But I was also a little confused. I thought it was Saturday.
That is the point.
Yeah.
I think that is the point. I went out for a walk in the morning yesterday and it felt like Saturday. But that's the gift, right? Because you come back and it's Friday and then you get Saturday again really quickly.
I like a midweek off. It kind of gives me a bit of a break and I'm ready to go. This 5 days of continuous working is a bit much.
I think weeks should be 6 plus 3.
Oh, so 3-day weekends.
3-day weekends, I could work 6 days straight if I get 3 days at the end of it.
Mm.
Where I'm going to change.org petition coming up.
People are doing 4-day weeks, no? I think UK...
4 plus 3?
Not 4 plus 3, just 4 plus... Yeah, 4 plus 3,
4
yes.
plus 3.
Yes. So 4-day week,
Nobody's
work week and...
you can't change the calendar. 6 plus 3 I think has a higher chance.
Maybe. Anyway.
What about 4 plus 5?
Why don't we all just stop working altogether and just invite AI to do our work and then we can just live off of some smart investments that are made by AI as well.
I'm down for that. Yeah. Before we get into today's agenda, I wanted to not forget what I said I would do in every episode, which is to find out what you are watching this week.
So this week, yesterday, I went and watched Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And I've begun watching The Class of '09 on Hotstar, which is right up my alley, something about FBI and past and present and things like that. But I was telling you guys in our 9:30 meeting in the morning as well, that this whole AI age up, age down thing in actors' faces is just incredible. And both these things that I watched, both Indiana Jones as well as The Class of '09, has past and present.
Okay.
And people who are at this point in time in the present not young, and they are being aged downwards, made youthful with AI and camera tricks. And it is incredible. It is disconcerting, but it is incredible to see Harrison Ford as a young man. And, you know, the opening scene of the movie of the latest Indiana Jones is very reminiscent of all the other Indiana Jones. It's almost like paying homage to the entire series, entire franchise. But I also think that our brain is now getting trained to understand this is AI.
Yeah.
You're looking for the blurs around the ears. You're looking for the eyes are still looking a little old, right? There are some tells. Earlier it used to be like, you know, those deep fake videos that we used to get. We're like, what's happening? And then now I think we're finally beginning to sort of separate the real from AI. But
speaking of which, I saw your reaction this morning when Anil told you that Apple's vision goggles
oh my God,
are not transparent.
They are not transparent. If anybody's listening to me right now on this podcast, I was so amazed last time when we spoke about the Apple
Vision Pro.
I thought it was a transparent piece of glass through which you could see and you would have AR, right? AR superimposed on your reality. But it's actually 2 cameras.
Yes.
So
it's
do
like
explain.
15 cameras or something like that.
15 cameras.
But basically, it's 2 layers of glass and it's not transparent. So from the outside, let's say you're wearing the glasses and I'm looking at you. I'm not actually looking at your eyes directly through the glass. I'm looking at a screen which projects a video of your eyes in near real time.
I mean, if this thing get any more complicated.
Yeah.
There is a
video. And it's the same in reverse.
Yeah.
You are watching a rendition of the outside world. You're not looking through transparent glass and seeing your surroundings. So it's like it's augmented reality, but the reality is a video.
I feel cheated. This is not Minority Report. I thought this was absolutely, I have a plain piece of glass and everything is getting superimposed.
But apparently if the lag is under 60 milliseconds, the human brain cannot tell. So this is AI or this is generated.
Well, right now, because now my brain knows.
No, but apparently you won't be able to tell the difference. Yeah. By the time that signal goes from your eyes to your brain, the moment would have passed.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so for people who are listening, the Vision Pro doesn't have a clear glass. It has 15 cameras cameras pointing towards your eyes and cameras pointing outwards where people can see your eyes, which is actually a video of your eyes.
Yes, it's a video of your eyes.
And you can see what's happening
The
outside.
more, I know this wasn't on the agenda for today, but the more I think about Vision AI, I'm getting more and more, I don't know,
What is this?
unsettled.
Okay.
Unsettled. Because, think about it. There are apps that are going to show up. How do you click on an app? You just look at it,
Oh my God.
right? So let's say there are 5 apps that show up. I mean, if you're watching a movie, you're watching a video, that stuff is okay. It's just the lean back experience. But if you're actually going to use it for navigation, for productivity, 5 apps are going to show up. And you're not clicking on an app like this, right? You can just pinch your fingers anywhere and it picks it up. But it picks up the appropriate app based on where your eyes are looking. I don't think our brain is tuned to work like that.
We're going to train it clearly.
I don't know. I feel like it's going to cause some issues.
So what if in real life I'll be like trying to pinch real
Yeah.
air and try to
No,
figure out.
you're just going to look at it.
Yeah.
Right now, you're not trained to look at an object and move it, have it react.
Remember those kids who were born at the turn of when we had iPads that you could pinch open and shut down, and then they would go to television screens that were the previous generation and they would try to do the same thing on screens? It's going to become like that.
I bought a Game Boy
And we're
last
gonna-
week and I tried to swipe up and down and I got frustrated that it wasn't swiping.
Man, we're just making ourselves as humanity, we're just going to be a bunch of bumbling fools walking around trying to figure out how to make both worlds meet. But at least it'll be good entertainment.
Yeah.
Right? And speaking of entertainment, I have, this morning I read a Substack by this person called the Entertainment Guy.
Okay.
I don't know his real name. And before, it's called the Entertainment Strategy Guy. Okay. And I randomly decided to subscribe to this Substack with this newsletter. And I was reading this story today and it's decided we would speak about it in our podcast. So therefore give him a shout out. And I wanted to figure out who this person is.
Okay.
But it's somebody anonymous. It's some ex-streaming exec who writes this entire blog. It's very well written. And it's now also got a paid version.
Mm-hmm.
And so I urge everybody who's listening to this podcast to also go and subscribe to it. But the one that I wanted to speak about, the blog that he wrote about, was about why the best month in theaters is June.
Oh.
Right?
Hmm.
And his entire take on what's happening in theatrical releases today and whether it's good or bad or whether it's better than 2018 apparently was a landmark year and then after that everything went downhill. And how this year is, we have a whole bunch of movies jam-packed and we were talking about this morning as well. There was Transformers in the theaters, there was Elemental, there's Indiana Jones.
No hard feelings.
There's so many releases back to back. And we know this from the past because theatrical releases is usually June, July, August because North America usually goes on a summer break. And so nobody's at home and they want to get out. But then the paradoxical situation right now is that over the pandemic, a lot of theaters actually shut down. So there are not too many theaters to go to. And also, a lot of these theatrical releases see releases on OTT platforms in 4 to 6 weeks. And so people who know that they're not really going to be getting a theatrical experience, a cinematic experience, may not go to the theaters. Like Elemental did shockingly badly at the box office. And in this article, which we will put into the blog that we'll put into the show notes as well, he says that movies need at least 500 million USD domestically to break even. And summer releases are crowded because, well, people are outside and they want to make sure that they have stuff to do. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. That means competition is up. And the other thing to look at is releasing on OTT in 4 to 6 weeks actually a dampener, or do you just figure out how to make your costs better in terms of production so that you can break even faster? And then in lieu of the fact that you're anyway going to go onto an OTT platform. So it's a very, very interesting read. And it takes us back to the first bet that we had. Will cinema survive?
Yes.
Right? Will theatre survive? And you have since then gone and spent thousands of rupees going to a premium theatre down the
You have to
road.
discount impulse and stupidity.
Yeah, but still, you've entertained yourself in the theatre far more than you have otherwise, right? and in a very luxurious way.
Have I told you the story of Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No.
That movie. You've seen the movie.
I haven't seen the movie.
I have not. But I was on my way to the theater to watch it, and we ended up against my wife's instructions, taking a better route. And we got there late and we missed the movie.
Oh no.
And so I booked it again for the afternoon and we missed it again. So I have paid a lot of money.
Donation.
Yeah. I still haven't seen it.
Yeah. And another interesting data point that I came across in this blog post was that the average movie ticket theater cost is $10.
Including concessions? No, obviously not.
Not concessions, I mean, just $10, which is like 850 rupees here, which is the premium experience that you're getting, right? So, I mean, it's all panning out, but I think theatrical releases are definitely needed for things like an Oppenheimer and Mission Impossible, which I'm looking forward to. Like Tom Cruise is just going to be all over the screen. So I'm just really excited. And today I'm going to go for Elemental, which I know, I mean, I could watch at home as well, but then why not?
I forgot which way I placed my bet about theaters. But today, if you said let's go to theater tomorrow, I'm actually getting excited about it. It's like, yes.
It's an experience, especially now the theaters are really cleaned up their act, especially in Bangalore.
Yeah. If you have not been to the new improved Rex Theatre on Brigade Road, you must go in Bangalore.
You must go. So the tickets range between 1,000 rupees to 550 rupees to 1,000 rupees.
3 times any other theatre.
But they have a cancellation policy. So you can cancel if you can't make it. But it's really, it's true
like
entertainment.
Business class.
Yeah. You have little lounge seats. They are two in a row, and they're far apart from each other. It's quite an evening out or an afternoon out or whatever. You must do it. And I'd probably do it even by myself in the afternoon. I think
they give you a pillow and a blanket in every seat.
Yeah, if you want it.
Yeah, it's there. I've used it.
You've partaked?
I have partaken.
Excellent.
So, we wanted to do today a little bit of a look back and a look forward. I look back at April, May, June, and I look forward at something exciting that we are going to be doing on the 14th of July, which is our Supply Sense webinar. But before that, when we look back at this quarter, what stood out from you from the month of April?
IPL.
Yep.
IPL was all over the airwaves in April. We were in two minds about how Jio was going to manage IPL, and they did a beautiful job. And we were tracking what they were doing from an advertising perspective as well. So I think April was all about IPL, live sports, and stuff around it. What about for you?
IPL definitely was a big one. And I keep going back to the sport podcast we did last year and what Unmesh had said, which is your citizens of the sport, consumers of the sport, fans of the sport. And IPL for us was like that. We have provided technology in the past to the IPL. We're all fans of the IPL. And then with Jio taking over, we were very curious to see how it panned out. And they also did the completely free, no subscription version of it, which definitely boosted their audiences. But coincidentally, we had Krishna from OTT Verse on at the same time, who walked us through exactly what happens behind the scenes. And he was talking about the fact that the way they implemented the technology itself was a thing of beauty. And so that was really fun to see. What also stood out for me in April was our podcast on connected TV and where it's going. And I want to get into this maybe a little bit more during one of our following episodes. Maybe we bring an expert on. But the Open RTB Protocol 2.6 launched in April, and it is built for CTV. Now, in the world of direct sales, direct buying and selling, which is the nature of ads businesses that we've primarily supported, you don't see much of this. But the entire programmatic world needed a lot more information to flow through the bid stream so that buyers could decide if they're buying exactly what they want and sellers could get the most amount of money for their inventory. And this is what launched in 2012, the Open RTB protocol to begin with, but it was never built for CTV. And Open RTB 2.6 is the protocol that is launched, which is supposed to be a game changer for the connected TV ecosystem. Many say that this is the protocol that will really, really drive the value that CTV is supposed to be getting on the programmatic market, because it supports ad podding, it supports flexible podding, it allows you to bid, for example, for the first spot in an ad. And you always said close to content is the best spot. So We will get into this in more detail, but this is something that stood out from April.
When we were talking about what to speak about as well, and when OpenRTB came up as a headliner for April, one of the things that we both noticed was like it looked suspiciously like how linear sells,
yeah.
right? So there is a flexible pod, there's a hybrid pod, and then there is a standard pod where you have specific ad breaks for a particular ad break time. So you can have 30 seconds in one ad pod, or you can have a flexi pod where you have 90 seconds of free commercial time and you fill it in with whatever combination of ad spots that you want, or you can have a combination of both in the ad spot. But also when I was reading up on the open RTB space, and like you said, we should get an expert in, a lot of it looked like there's a tiny theme in there that spoke about what is billable.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And how do you understand whether this is billable or not, or where it was served from, whether it was server side or whether it was client side. So all of this is, in my opinion, very, very complicated. And I'm really wondering how agencies, publishers, and advertisers are setting themselves up to be able to understand all this data
And decode it
in real time, or at least in near real time, for it to make business sense, instead of getting overwhelmed by the data. But more on that later. But so IPL, OpenRTB for CTV.
And CTV itself. And I bought my first connected TV.
Oh yes, congratulations, you did.
And to this day, I kid you not. One is, of course, it has definitely brought my household together a lot more. We actually collect ourselves around the television in the
congregate
evenings.
around the TV.
But I had a visitor the other day and I said, hey, come check out my TV. And I showed them the TV switched off.
It's like 1980s.
Hey, check it out. Look at it. So beautiful. It's so thin. It has a frame. It has no wires. And they looked at me funny.
But I'm sure it was a great conversation starter.
Yeah, but I was amazed at the fact that that's what I thought to show them.
Versus your new baby?
Versus many other things in my house, like the new baby, the house itself.
Yes,
and I said, let me give you a tour of my house. I'm like, this is my television. Here it is.
Yeah, I mean, it is a thing of joy, for sure. I know that we keep going on and on about the CTV, but it has been a really long time since I actually watched television, and at this rate and at this frequency, because I've always been either holed up with my phone or I projected and Chromecasted it onto a projector on the wall. But otherwise, it's never
also
been
like
TV.
This was the remote control for my older television, and you have to fight with it.
Yeah.
I'm happy that I can speak to my TV now.
Fancy.
Yeah.
May.
May.
What happened in May?
The first thing that came out of the month of May was everything at our favorite app, Twitter.
Yes.
Linda
Yaccarino
took over as the CEO of Twitter. And everyone was interested in knowing more about what she brings to the table, because...
And he tweeted very cryptically before that saying he's got a woman CEO.
Yeah, but everybody knew.
Yeah.
So it was a secret for all of 5 seconds. And everyone's like, what a coincidence that she has quit at the same time. Right before the upfronts.
Yeah.
She quit NBCU. But there was a video that was leaked from her CEO town hall last week, which is also very sad for a company that's leaking videos of internal meetings.
Oh, I didn't see this. What is this?
Yeah, it came out this morning. So basically acknowledging the fact that they must, I think she called it hand-to-hand combat. She said, but she acknowledged the fact that since the time she's taken over, because of some moves that Elon Musk made, they have lost advertisers and they've also fallen short of their numbers. But she basically is instructing her team that we must go on a war footing, and she called it hand-to-hand combat to win back advertisers who have dropped off the platform.
Yeah. And so that they're releasing entire episodes to get people to watch.
Releasing entire episodes.
On Twitter.
Elon Musk, I am glad to see that he has let go of the ad business and left it in the hands of someone who really knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, he's going and fighting Mark Zuckerberg in a cage match.
Oh man, that is so embarrassing.
Has he seen the shape Zuckerberg is in lately? I don't think he knows.
Maybe we don't know what's under the black suit that Elon actually wears all the time.
Zuckerberg is in the shape of his life.
Amazing.
He's training, he's doing jiu-jitsu.
Are you going to pay $100? Are you going to pay $100 to watch him? I'm pretty sure you're going to.
No, I'm not going to pay. No, I'm not going to pay. He's gonna kill him. Elon Musk is running 3 companies. It's gonna take him 10 years to get into shape, by which point he would have aged.
My money is on Elon though.
Well, at least he's distracting everybody while Linda does
her job. Yeah. But from a publisher perspective, I think this is a good move for them to get actually a person who knows what they're doing who has deep relationships with premium advertisers, and who has the power to push and make changes. Twitter is a great platform. We've always maintained it. I don't think there's anything better than Twitter out there. After all the work that we have done to train Twitter to give us the news that we wanted to give. And I'm looking forward to it getting commercially viable because I want it to survive as a platform. So,
To be honest, since he's taken over, I quite like the quality of the tweets that I'm getting. Previously, I used to hate the recommended tweets and I just wanted tweets from people I follow in chronological order. But now they have this other tab which recommends tweets for you. And it's actually gotten better.
it will. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been too long for this company to fail to this level. But I mean, you can never say never because I was just reading about Bed Bath and Beyond. I know this is a completely side segue onto.
If there is anything I know about this podcast,
Yeah.
it goes in a direction that it wants to. You cannot control it.
So Bed Bath and Beyond filed for bankruptcy.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's
Did not
selling
know
off
that.
all of its assets one by one, and overstock
all the beds.
on their beds. But I mean, I'm sure that the inventory also will go. But they recently sold off their what is it called? Their e-commerce platform, their marketplace, and their IP. The fact that they're called Bed Bath and Beyond to Overstock for just $21 million, right? But that's just one part of it. But they filed for bankruptcy, and if you're a traveler from India and you went to the West Coast and you had family living there, Bed Bath and Beyond would be one of those stores that you would definitely go to, right? Because it was one of those stores that just oozed American living with all of their pots and pans and bed sheets and whatever else, and you would probably just walk through and buy a couple of things. But it was one of those things that was very, very iconic about a US trip and a US mall visit.
Yeah.
And it's no longer going to be there. Or maybe Overstock will keep them on and redo it. I don't know. But there was sad news. So it's not like everything has to last forever, but I really want Twitter to last forever.
I do.
I really do.
I do too. When you said 21 million, suddenly I read something yesterday that Databricks acquired Mosaic ML for $21 million per employee. That's
Yeah.
what they paid.
Yeah.
1.3 billion. 60
And I think there's an article about he's explaining why they spend that much money. Anyway, I mean, there's clearly money that's like pouring out of everybody's
everything.
everything.
Okay, moving on to June. June was ATS
Cans.
I can never get it right. I'm not gonna. I'm just. You know what? I am not French.
It doesn't matter.
As
It's
you
just
may or may
cans.
not
Just say
know.
cans.
As you may
Yeah.
or may not know, I'm not French. And Trust. Actually, for me, that was the most fun episode that we did
Yeah.
because it clearly is at the core of everything that's going on in that industry. Trust, the lack of it, the systems that are built around it, the systems that are built to work through a lack of trust, which is effectively now overcomplicating it.
Why Twitter freaking crumbled.
Yeah. Forget where I was listening to this, but I think it was on the Marketecture podcast. But they were talking about the disintermediation of the programmatic ecosystem, and the CEO of Sovereign basically said, "Today, when I buy stocks, I don't pay a fee to an intermediary. There was a time when I had to go to Dean Witter and pay them a fee and pay them a brokerage." And he said, today that doesn't work. That entire ecosystem has just been shut down because it's all about one metric and one driver. And he said, yes, our industry was built around a lack of trust, but that's where it'll eventually have to go. The writer's strike is still on. It's still on, and there is no end in sight for it. But that was one of my favorite episodes from June.
From June. Yeah. Trust is something that is all pervasive. I think even in our current work-life upheaval, new way of working, why do you work in an organization? What are you going to do with your life? All of that is based on trust. So on that very, very deep note, we're gonna switch gears and talk about the fact that we have a new webinar coming up in July. Last quarter, what we did was we said we'll invite a lot of guests, and we started off with CTV, which is one of our favorite topics because it was so storied in the first 6 months, and we wanted to know more about it. So we got a little deeper on the CTV part of it. But what we see, and that has been building up over the last year, I want to say, ever since last March, has been retail media. With Criteo making the turn in trying to make sure that they have their own retail media play, with the retail media organizations understanding the power of their own supply in terms of promotional supply, and our own journey with our customers, where we've provided, this whole business suite for ad management to our customers as well, and how they have been, their journey has been. It's been quite enlightening for us that retail media is really here to stay. It is also going to be one of those places where you can target high intent customers, drive purchases, drive outcomes, and it's replacing a lot of in-store promotional material, where like literally where we used to have point of sale advertising. That's where it's going to be with all of these e-commerce companies. But on a lighter note, it's so nuanced, different, and it's new, especially in their own little lexicon that they have made, and they have this huge cast of characters. Do you want to get started off on?
Yeah. I'm very excited about this webinar. We have two people joining us who work in this space and deeply, deeply understand it and live it
from very popular marketplaces.
Yes. Who we will name.
Yep.
So we have Anurodh from Swiggy and we have Kishore from Big Basket. Two very different yet very similar companies. But what I'm excited about is I have so many questions that I'm bringing to this webinar. Because advertising and monetization in the retail space is just such a different fabric. There are different metrics at play. It's not just about revenue and performance and delivery of campaigns. There's revenue that results in ads GMV, that results in GMV, and the interplay between those metrics can scale that business very differently because you're now dealing with consumers who are engaging with you at the point of commerce. And the advertisers are also possibly merchants. And they're not just here to sort of give you a message. It is the most bottom of the funnel experience. There is the type of ads that is itself very different. It's definitely not an interruptive or a permission-based experience, right? There's an entire funnel that you go through as you sort of piece together your cart. Sometimes you're doing it quickly and you know what you want. Sometimes you're browsing, you don't know what you want. And so there's such an interplay between how those ads are shown to you and what it does for you as a result. That could be sponsored listings in a search bar. It's sponsored listings when you're sort of looking at a product specifically for either related products, competing products, or things that people buy frequently together. I'm just so curious to know what their North Star is for someone who is a retailer. There's also stocks and stockouts, right? And there's another metric you never see this in publishing or OTT, right? You look at a product. No one's saying don't show this product because currently you're out of stock. It's not a thing.
Yep. Especially for fresh produce as well, right? With companies with aspects like Big Basket's fresh produce as well as Instamart's, fresh produce.
Yeah.
One that's like closest to your house. There is a serious amount of strategy and understanding of how do you make sure that stuff is stocked near people's homes and what actually sells and what doesn't, and controlling of wastage and things like that. But along with this, understanding of merchandising. My understanding of merchandising in the past used to be people who used to figure out what to buy for a store and how do you display it within a shop floor.
Yeah.
And you would have merchandisers who would go for maybe the Paris Fashion Week, or they would go maybe to China, the other end of the spectrum, and actually shop. Today, merchandising is a little more than that. In e-commerce marketplaces, they actually advertise and promote the merchandising that they have to be able to drive transactions. And that's a completely separate department. And then you have 1P and 3P, which in our world which in the world of publishers and OTT, because we also our world is also e-commerce now. But in the publisher and the OTT world, 1P and 3P are decidedly just audiences. But in the retailer space, in the e-commerce space, 1P and 3P are the outsiders or the insiders just on the retail space. Merchants who are on their platform are first party, and people who do not necessarily sell on their platform but can talk to their audiences based on some interests and past purchases will be third party. So there's a lot of, like we spoke about, a lot of nuances within the retail media space. But ultimately, it's the top 100 advertisers who spend in advertising are going to be also looking at retail media networks and retail media organizations and e-commerce marketplaces to be able to place their ads. So there has to be a meeting of minds and ideologies at some point in time. And I don't know whether retail media is going to be training and retraining OTT and publishers and regular agencies to understand what this ROI is, or is it going to be the other way around? Are they going to conform to the existing system? So the other thing that I was curious about is formats, creative formats. What do you think video has to do with
Exactly,
e-commerce
right?
marketplaces?
Video has such a different relationship with the fabric of everything you just described. And I noticed that through your entire narrative, only at the very end did you talk about retail media networks, which is actually something
Completely
that sits on top of this.
Correct.
Right? And it's so nuanced. But video as a format inside of this experience is what? Do I want to see videos of the product I'm looking to buy? Do I need to see videos? Like I was listening to a podcast on the Adexchanger with Instacart. I always get Instacart and Instamart
mixed up. Doesn't matter.
But Instacart in the US was talking about the fact that, yes, I need videos, but do I need videos for bananas?
No.
Not necessarily. Actually, no. That's a quicker purchase. But I need videos for products that maybe I need to see in action.
Yeah.
Because maybe it's an appliance, maybe it's a cosmetic product. I'd like to see it
in play. Yeah.
In play. But videos have such a different interplay with the experience itself. It's not the interruptive experience that we know and love in the world of content. It is something that enhances your decision-making process. We spoke to Dimitri from Walmart, who said that the big difference between retail and OTT is OTT optimizes for delivery, whereas retail must optimize for relevance. So suddenly in the world of relevance, there is a different reason why videos exist. And now I'm wondering if relevance is the same as context, or if maybe they mean different things. We listened to Lena had put up on LinkedIn the programmatic episode with Xander, the Xander podcast. And that's when he said there are words in plain English that mean something very different in our industry. And that's what makes it fascinating.
It is fascinating. And I think, the e-commerce marketplaces are going to go through a huge renaissance, because over the last, say, 5 to 7 years, because they are digital natives themselves, there's been a lot of in-house building and a lot of scrappiness that has come to fore, and they have a bunch of engineers. So the whole build versus buy has always been towards build and not buy. And now I think in the age of profitability and making sure that they're able to scale and actually play in a larger playing field and be able to access our dear $5 trillion industry of advertising and content, because it's all now enmeshed within this experience that you're providing to your user. I think there's going to be a proliferation, and we already see a proliferation of a bunch of product and services that e-commerce companies can now access. And that's also something that I'm curious about in this webinar, whereas what are they going to look externally for help? And what do they believe is something that they're just not going to let go of and want to invest in and build on their own? And this is a good time for them to question, because all this time it was all about getting up and running. Now it's for you to stay running and stay profitable and start generating wealth for everybody involved with the e-commerce company, and also delivering ROI to your advertisers and the greatest experience to your consumers. So that's a huge ask.
Yeah.
So you can't do everything.
Yeah.
Got to figure out where you're focusing.
Yeah. So what I'm most excited about is to speak to two people who live and breathe this problem, who don't get sleepless nights around maximizing their fill rate.
Oh, yes.
They are deeply worried about something totally different.
Correct.
And I'm very curious to sort of unearth that and get a better understanding of what life is like on the inside of these businesses.
Curiously enough, now e-commerce marketplaces are, from an advertising perspective, is very curiously like how TV used to be back in the day. The concept of serviceability exists over here. You may not get your slot. You may not be able to place yourself on a promotional carousel right now, but maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because it's so backed up. But yeah, so there is a lot that we are that I'm waiting to uncover in this webinar.
Carousels, I'm realizing, are now everywhere.
Yeah.
Like as a consumer of all these platforms, I've realized that I used to think I'm not someone who shops a lot online, but my history, my credit card
begs to say otherwise.
Has a different story.
You know what I want? I really, really want a universal shopping cart. I really want a universal shopping cart. They can just divide it based on the type of site I shop from, lifestyle, groceries, books and whatever else and fashion, so that at least I know what I'm spending on
Yeah.
and
Maybe
how I can
someone
check
should
stuff
just
out.
reverse engineer our credit card statements and create a universal card out of it.
Yeah,
But
because
that-
if I'm going to the other thing is because it's so fragmented, I end up shopping a lot. The only thing that really knows the burden of the shopping and where is my bank balance, and that's only after the fact.
Yeah.
So if like you were saying, you keep filling up your shopping cart and then only checking out a couple of it, right? I'd like to do that all over the internet. But anyway, I'm sure that somebody will come out of it. Or it's already there and I don't know. If anybody knows of a universal shopping cart, please let me know. All right, so that's the end.
So, in the run up to our webinar, which is on the 14th of July, we're going to be running some polls on LinkedIn. We're going to be seeking questions from our audience. Anything you want to throw at our panelists, please feel free to write in.
Yep.
Maybe we can put up a form or something in our show notes.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous about this podcast. But I mean, this webinar. But anyway, we will prepare.
Yeah, we'll prepare, of course, but I think we have two people who are experts and can really guide the way. But I'm just really excited to come prepared with.
Yeah, that's
of
the
our
kind of
questions.
nervous I am. I don't want to wing it. I want to make sure that we are milking every second that we have of these guys at our
Yeah, there will be things that obviously they will not be able to talk about. We must find a way to get them to talk about it.
Or there'll be awkward silences saying, I can't really comment on that.
Texting us on the side.
Correct. Okay, so thank you everybody for listening. Thank you for everybody in this room for putting this podcast together week on week. Santosh,
Episode
Leena,
50 coming up, guys.
and Gautam. All right. Thanks, Anand.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.